And ride with me in my foul life.
What's up, everybody? Chad Belding back at you. Another episode of the Fowl Life podcast. This is a Dickies Work Wear series podcast. We are going to talk today about livelihood, revenue streams, working men, working women, working Americans, working people around the world. It's brought to you by Dickies Work Wear. It's brought to you by Gerber Gear, and it's brought to you by Leer Toppers. Dickies Work Wear, WEAR, is a brand of clothing that supplies authentic work clothing to America's men and women that are out there in our workforce, blue collar, white collar, you name it, ditch diggers, bus drivers, carpenters, janitors, whatever you do. They even have fatigues. They even have medical supplies that doctors and nurses and dentists and dental hygienists can wear on a daily basis. You name it. Like I said, Dickies is building it, and we are proud to be associated with them. This episode is also brought to you by Gerber Gear. Stay sharp, America. My guest today is one of the head people that represents Gerber in all of their blades, all of their edges, all of their tools. They have so many different multi-tools and saws and hatchets and open blades and straight blades and closed blades. Gerber Gear, made in America, made in the state of Oregon. They keep us sharp, whether we're building a blind or cutting the hindquarters off an elk or the breast meat off a speckled-belly goose out of the rice fields of California. We love our partnership and everything that Gerber Gear stands for. And finally, today's episode is brought to you by Leer Toppers. Stay secure, stay safe as you travel America's highways, flyways, the back roads, the dirt roads, watching those mallards pitch into a pond. You pull into a hotel or a lodge, you can be rest assured that all of your guns, ammo, any of your hunting gear is going to be secure and protected underneath your Leer topper, not to mention all of the moisture and rain that it keeps off it. There's so many benefits of a Leer topper, so many different combinations and styles that you can build out for your truck. Doesn't matter what rig you drive. Check them out, Leer Toppers. They're on all the social media platforms. Thank you very much for supporting those sponsors. Today's guest is one of my favorite hunters. Everywhere I go, I hear, like Rocky said, man, that guy's amazing. And then you go talk to another guy that I've introduced you to, or that we have co-friends with, or like something in common with, and they're like, he's the best there is. You're quiet. You don't talk a lot of smack. You would be kind of like the Dan Hendo of hunters. Like Conor McGregor is a smack talker in the UFC. Dan Hendo never talked any smack. He always just went in there and did it. And that's what you do. You kind of just stay quiet. Nobody knows where you're at any given time. Nobody knows where you hunt. And you're by yourself a lot. You even have a show with Tim called Solo Hunter. Remi Warren, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Is that kind of a fair assumption? Are you an MMA fan at all?
Yeah.
So, like Conor McGregor, he sells the fight with the press conference and the smack talk. Hendo would just go in there and roll his eyes at something like that and just go to battle. You're kind of like that silent guy that really just stays low key and behind the scenes, but you have a huge following. You have a very successful podcast. You have TV shows and content out there that everybody knows you through. You've been on the Rogan Experience with Joe Rogan. You've been on the Meat Eater podcast. You know Stephen Rinella. You got a big following. Why, how do you stay quiet with all that? Do you choose that, or does it just come natural, or what?
I don't know. I think it just comes natural. I'm like the kind of guys like put your head down, do the work, let other people say, you know what I mean? I'm always the guy that's like, I don't want to be the guy that tells everybody this, that, and the other thing. I just want to be the guy that shows everybody. And that's like, and to show people, you just got to be out doing it. And so I just kind of like constantly get out there and do my thing. And it's just what I love too. So it's just like, it's just the way I live, I guess. You started in the outdoor industry as a rider? Is that correct? Were you mainly a rider first, or were you on camera first? On camera. I mean, I started as a guide and outfitter, but then I guess I started working for a magazine. I was guiding, working for a magazine, and I've always been filming stuff. Before I ever had a show, before I ever did anything, I just filmed everything. And then that passion kind of turned into filming stuff for television, then filming stuff for social media and companies and content creation, and just now where it's morphed to, so many different little assets and facets.
But you did not grow up in a hunting industry family. Your dad is a local guy that has owned businesses in the area. Your brother works in those businesses. Your family, I don't know for a fact, but I don't think that, were you the first one to step out and say, I'm going to make my living in the outdoor industry?
Yeah. Well, actually, my grandpa, back before I was born, was an outfitter in Montana. And that's kind of like, I just wanted to follow in his footsteps. He had long been out of it when I got started, but, I think that was like a big inspiration for me.
So outfitting drew you to the industry, and then it just started to kind of compound from there?
Yeah, pretty much. Something I knew I always wanted to do was like have an outdoor TV show and do hunting stuff for a living, whether it be writing, all forms of like hunting media. That was kind of like my goal. And I was very intentional about it. It wasn't just like I accidentally appeared in this space. But yeah.
You're intentional about your approach and about you're kind of forecasting your road into the industry. Building a TV show is hard. Becoming a successful writer in any facet of life is difficult. There's a lot of journalists out there. There's a lot of newspaper reporters and writers. There's a lot of authors out there. You got to find your niche. Your niche became in what I would guess to be storytelling, but more so of instructional and how-to, because you have an uncanny way of teaching men and women how to become successful in the field. Your podcast does that quite a bit with stories, like I said, because you're a very well thought out, sought after thinker. You put your words together very well. But you talk about how you were positioning yourself. Could you explain to somebody how to get a job in this industry? Because like if you say, I want to become a doctor, there's a pathway to that. You go to college, you become very smart, you get all of your credits taken care of, and then you hopefully get, pass some tests to get accepted to med school. And then you do your residency, and then you become an MD, and you pay back all those student loans. And then you figure out if you're an ER doctor or a pediatric physician or a surgeon or whatever, right?
Yeah.
When you say, I'm going to be in the outdoor industry, you could probably teach somebody how to be a writer, or tell them, well, if you want to become a writer, go to college, become a journalism, get a degree in journalism, learn how to write, or just start writing and try to get your stuff accepted by an editor from one of these magazines like Film Stream or Outdoor Life or Predator Extreme or whatever. How do you explain to somebody, Remi? Like you have all these different things going on. You have podcasts, TV shows. You write a lot of articles. You represent some of the biggest brands in the country, including one that's on your hat, Gerber. How would you tell somebody if a 15-year-old kid walks up and says, hey, man, when I'm done with high school, I want to get in the hunting industry?
Yeah, that's if you probably asked like 100 people that do it, they'd get 100 different answers. But I did it the only way that I knew how, and it was a couple ways. First, hard work, and second, just by doing it. I think people like look at you where you are right now, and it happens in every industry or anything people do. They always like look at where you are now, and they're like, they don't see all the work that it took to get to that place. I think the way that I saw it all panning out was I knew what I wanted to do, and I kind of just like packed up my truck and gave myself no other options. I had no other exit plan. I knew that I wanted to be a guide and an outfitter. And people were like, how do you be a guide? I literally loaded up my truck, drove to Montana, and was like, I'm going to be up here till I figure it out. and I didn't have a guide job. And so I just lived in my truck and started hunting constantly.
Did you have a lot of money in the bank?
No. I was after high school.
So you just said, I'm going with some gas money.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I did have like, I had like a scholarship to school, so that was cool. But I decided, I was like, I'm going to take the fall off and then only do school during spring and summer semesters. So I'll take 6 months off to work and hunt and do whatever. And then I'll go back to school. And I was just like, out there and trying to figure out, like, learn an area better than anyone. And I was like, hey man, if I know this area better than anyone, how could someone not hire me? So I beat the pavement. I learned every rock, stick, tree, whatever. And I chose to go to Montana, one, because I grew up hunting there with my grandpa, and two, because it was like, at the time, people were like, why didn't you guide Nevada? But it was general over-the-counter tags there. And it was like, that's the mecca for being an elk guide, is go to Montana. It's like big public land, whatever. So I learned those areas, and I kept running into these outfitters, and I just constantly, it wasn't like I was like knew where they were at and trying to be in front of them or anything. I was just out learning the area, hunting, and I kept being on the elk before these other guys kept coming in behind me. And this one guy's like, hey man, like this is like 3 times in a row, like you definitely know these elk as well or better than we do. And he's like, instead of working against us, you want to work for us? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah.
That's what my goal was.
Yeah. So I got a job as a hunting guide, and I mean, you know, it was like when I was guiding, I just went balls out. I wanted to be the best guide there was. And, I mean, I remember days where it was like everybody had an elk and a deer tag. I took 2 hunters per week. Both had, so 4 tags between them, an elk and a deer both. And then, you know, and, I mean, I remember there was days where a guy would shoot an elk in the evening. I'd go drop them back off at camp, go out, pack out their elk till 5 a.m, no sleep, get back, pick them back up and go back out, because I wanted to make sure I had as much time hunting with these guys so I could fill tags. And I mean, I was like public land, 10% success rate. And I filled every single one of my guys' elk and deer tags, or at least, you know, had them shoot at multiple animals. Sometimes you can't control where they hit, but I got really good at it, and, you know, built a name for myself for being one of the best guides by just like working my ass off. And through that, you know, I had stockpiles of stories and experience, and I was only, 21, 22 at the time, something like that. And I ran into these guys that, you know, had a magazine, small local magazine in Montana. And I started showing them pictures of like some of this, and they're like, holy crap, man, you've been on like a lot of hunts. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I hunt from August 1st till December 1st nonstop. And those guys were like, hey, you want to do, I was like, oh yeah, I write too. And I just had a bunch of things that I'd written that no one wanted to publish them, but I just wrote stuff because just to write. And I ended up working for those guys for 40 hours a week for free for about 2 years, you know, just to build up a resume, essentially.
And where was it going? Where was all of your stories are going?
It was called Real Hunting Magazine.
And it was just, you would write it.
Yep.
They would edit it, and then they would put it in there. And then was it a subscription-based deal?
Yeah, it was a subscription-based, and it was subscription-based and sold on newsstands. I ended up starting by writing stuff. Then I ended up doing like design work for them. And then I ended up kind of just like pretty much running the thing. I feel like, you know, I pretty much like from start to finish did everything. And, you know, my thought was like, nobody's going to hire a guy that has no experience. So man, I will get in here and I will do everything, and I will learn, like, I will just like work for free if I can. I worked for free for years, just building up a resume. So it was like, I remember when I was probably, I don't know, I think I was maybe, I don't even know when I started that. So maybe I was like 23, 24. And, I guess what year would that be? Like when kind of everything kind of stock market crashed, everything went down.
2007.
Yeah, 2007, 2008, something like that. No, it'd probably be, I guess this happened in like 2009 or somewhere around there. That magazine ended up going under, but you know, they had like the company that distributed them like never. It was just it was too bad, but. Yeah, and I mean, I was like, oh well. I was like, I looked at it and I just had a resume that like nobody my age had. Not a single person on the planet had my resume. And I thought, that's like, you know, I put in countless hours, and like I was going to school full time and like working all night just getting these magazines done and meeting deadlines and doing the design work and collecting articles and editing all the photos and just like building up this resume where I was like, at the end I had a portfolio of like hundreds of articles that I'd written, magazines, design things that I'd done, everything. And during that whole time, I was constantly filming. I was like, my thought was like, I'm the type of person who's like, if you want something, just do it. And I wanted to have a hunting TV show. And I had been the guide on shows, and people were like, nah, it's impossible. I was like, no. So I took my camera out and I filmed everything I did like I had a TV show, and I had no TV show. And then me and Tim connected, and he's like, was looking for some content. And I was like, hey man, I've got, I think I had 35 filmed hunts. And he's like, perfect, because I have no filmed hunts and I need some filmed hunts. And so like the first 3 seasons of Solo Hunter were just essentially stuff that I had in the bank that I just filmed, hoping to have a TV show one day, just getting practice filming and doing things the way that I like to do it. And then it became that. And that's just kind of like things that progressed from there.
So when you said you took the semester off, you did end up going back to get your degree?
Yeah, I got a degree in marketing, but I did it all during the spring and summer semesters.
So you could hunt in the fall and winter?
Yeah, so I took off. I mean, I essentially was done from, what would that be, August 1st to end of January.
So you're telling somebody how to get a job in this, really it's work your ass off.
Work your ass off.
Ethic.
Yeah.
Work ethic.
Yeah. And I think it's for anything. I honestly don't think anything's that hard to get, but I think people, and maybe it's just me going off my only experience. The only thing I can talk about is my own experience, you know? But I think that there's like one question that always pisses me off. Is like, what's the easiest way to do what you do? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't take the easy way. Man, I worked my ass off. I mean, I did stuff for free for years, you know? And it's like, okay, I'm at this point now, but you don't see all the hours and the time and the whatever that I did stuff just grinding.
So what point are you at? How do you describe where you're at this? How old are you, 35?
35, yeah.
35 years old. Where are you at? Are you where you want to be? Are you done? Where are you at?
Oh, I mean, I think there's always things to progress and things to get into and different stuff. You know, I've got plans of things that I want to do, but I also think that, I mean, I think in some ways I kind of met a lot of the things that I wanted to do. You know, I think that, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I mean, I don't know if I feel like I've like made it to where I want to. I don't necessarily think it's that, but because it's always just been, I want to do what I love to do. And I'm doing that. So, I mean, for me, it's like, sweet, that's awesome. I think other people like, I don't know. I mean, you know, you talk about like the outdoor industry and all this. I'm so far removed from the quote unquote industry part of it. I know none of that stuff. And I think people think I'm a little more ingrained to it than I am. It's just that, I mean, it's just kind of like part of my lifestyle and somehow all these other things fit into it, you know? And I mean, it's very intentional that way. But, you know, in the scheme of things, my day-to-day thing is I'm out doing what I love, really.
100%.
And honestly, you talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, you put in the hard work, but if something you love, it doesn't feel like work. No. Never go out there and like, man, I'm really working hard. I mean, sometimes the travel seems annoying or whatever, you know, but whatever. But dude, if you love it, you're like, I mean, I'd rather put in a, you know, is like day in, day out grinding on something that I love to do than something that I don't, you know?
Do you ever get the feeling of guilt? Because does it ever hit you, and I'm saying this in a personal reflection of like, how is this happening kind of deal? Like, how do I know you worked hard, and I feel that we have too. You know, if you go back to the very beginnings of what we started building, it was a lot, and it still is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you see what comes with it, you're almost like, is this really real? Maybe not guilty, but do you pinch yourself a bunch saying like, I'm literally in the big sky country of Montana chasing bugling elk and big rutting mule deer, and I'm getting paid for it. But at the same time, I'm going back to my tent and writing an article that I'm getting paid for. And then I'm then I'm doing a photo shoot for Under Armour that I'm getting paid for. I mean, does it ever hit you to make where you got to like pinch yourself?
Oh yeah, definitely. You're like, whoa. I remember just like, I don't know if you had this or whatever, but I remember just like looking at things, hunting TV shows or whatever, and thinking, I know I can be that guy. I know I can do that, you know? And then you kind of get to that point, but you never see yourself actually doing it. It's just like part of what you do. I think other people see, I remember being that person on the outside looking in saying I could do that. And then finally becoming that person, you don't ever see yourself as that person. I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes total sense.
You're like, and then other people, it's like funny, like, you know, if I'm going through an airport or in something, you know, I think a lot of people like, you know, will recognize me and like, and they're like, man, you're my hero or this, that. And you're like, I don't see myself as that because I'm just doing what I love. And it's really weird. But I remember like seeing on the outside kind of like that part's very surreal. It's like, I think it's really cool in a way that it's like, hey, what I'm doing like affects people in the way that other people have affected me. And I think that that's super cool. And I hope that like motivates people to follow whatever it is that they love to do and figure out a way to do it. I wish there was a formula. I wish there was a school. I wish there was like, this is the path you can take. But the reason that there's not a lot of people that do it and it's because it's difficult. And I think people glaze over that fact that it's extremely difficult. And things that are extremely difficult take a lot of work. And you just have to be willing to be the guy that's like, not doesn't get bitter, just like sees things as an opportunity and takes those opportunities, works your ass off, and then make those opportunities into something for yourself.
I'm sure you've encountered it, but that last few seconds of you talking, those few sentences, I think that's like the birth of hateism or hatred or haters in different areas in life of people that if you took what you said the first 15 minutes and applied that and said, nothing's impossible. You've heard it for years. There's always been that analogy or that mindset of like, if you want something, you just have to go get it. You just have to wake up earlier and go to bed later. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to discipline. So I think that when people are outside looking in, you were one of those guys that were like, I can do that. You didn't hate on the people that were inside doing it. You're just like, I know that I can put something together and be intentional in my, in my approach to this, right? I think that what you just described is how people start to hate of like, they don't know the steps to take to get there. So they automatically go to that, what you used as bitterness. And that bitterness starts to cause of like, oh man, if I can't do it, then I'm going to tear down somebody that will. Would you agree with that, Sam? That haters that are spawned from that inability to see that it really can be done?
Yeah, I think one thing I think is really important is I never looked at what other people were doing, and I never really focused on what other people were doing. It's like I was stoked for what other people did, but I also wanted to do my own thing. I remember. This is, over 15 years ago. And I remember thinking about, I wanted to showcase the hunt how I saw hunting, not just going to a tree stand, killing a deer or whatever. I wanted to show the struggle of the hike, the pack out, cooking the meat over an open fire. And I remember people telling me that will never catch on. That's not hunting. That's not the hunting industry. And you won't ever make it doing that. And I just thought, okay, that's fine. And then I had, a couple opportunities where it was like, to do some hunts that were like things that were supposedly what the hunting industry wanted. And I was like, this isn't me. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to keep doing what I like to do. And if nobody likes it, I don't care. And now I look at it and it's like, I feel like I almost paved the way of like how much of the hunting industry now is matching up with what I was doing 15 years ago. And like, that's awesome.
Is that where, are you saying that in a way that you spawned the meat eater?
No, I don't know. But I just think that, I was on the leading edge of what essentially is like people are looking for now, and it was, I think that, when you talk about like the hunting industry and the other things, I think there's like, I really believe that it has caught up to where I've been this entire time. Because I remember there's certain things that, were not popular then that I was told talking to companies like we would never work with somebody that is only like Western based or whatever. It's whitetails only, man. If you aren't doing whitetails, like you're never going to make it. I was like, that's not the case because I think there's a lot of adventure in hunting. I think there's a lot to be said about these aspirational qualities of hunting. I think that, I was told it's all about big whitetail bucks. And I was like, yeah, but there's a lot of people that hunt for the food and for the adventure and for just going out. And there's people that I remember being told, we showed solo episodes of like not getting anything. And someone said, no one will relate to that. And is the exact opposite. Those were some of the more popular episodes at the time because nobody ever showed an episode where they missed or where they didn't come home with something.
It's true.
And I'm like, you know what? But that's what hunting is to me, and that's what I wanted to showcase. And I think that now you've kind of seen a shift in those kind of things. And I wanted to make sure that I always showed respect for the animal when everybody else was doing the flying chicken dance, and I'm like, and those kind of things I think have caught up to essentially. And I like to see that, I like to know that by sticking to what I believed in, it didn't necessarily compromise me. And I think that because of it, I'm in a lot further place than I would be if I kind of listened to other people's, I just kind of stuck true to what I thought was right and what I thought was cool. And sure enough, things kind of caught up that way, which is cool.
So when you talk about going to companies and them saying, well, if you're not a Midwest whitetail guy or a tree stand hunter or it's not going to work out west. There's been a lot of stuff spawned out west. I can name brands that were spawned in Montana or in California or in Utah and Idaho now that are big national brands that were spawned because of the Western mindset of hunting and adventure and high mountain, or whether it was goat hunting, sheep hunting, elk deer, mule deer, antelope, whatever. when you're talking to these companies, when does the first one, how does the Remi Warren mystique of representing brands start? Like, you're a rider, you're an outfitter. There might be a chance where Schnees or Danner sends you a pair of boots and says, hey, hunt these all year. When was the first one where you became signed on the dotted line of representing the brand? Like Under Armour, you're wearing on there, Gerber, you're on your hat. You represent gun companies and ammo companies, many different companies and facets of the industry. Do you remember did they come to you? Did you go to them? Was it at SHOT Show?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it came through a few different things, but really, I think the first couple companies that really like supported me were Vortex and Under Armour, and they saw the value, and I think that they had worked with. Well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for them, but I mean, what I remember them talking about was there was something that happened. They needed somebody to fill in for a photo shoot or whatever, and they realized like I'd been doing like TV stuff for free. I didn't get paid to do anything, and they needed like a person to do some photo shoot thing, and I think that they like the people that I went there and I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll be stoked to do this, you know. And it was I can't remember, some kind of ad campaign that they had. And I was out there and like they quickly realized that I was like the real deal. And I think that they'd worked with a lot of people in the quote unquote hunting industry that had no clue what they were doing. And not to say in a bad way or cast shade on anyone, but they were like, dude, this guy knows what he's doing. And I think that like, it's kind of a really weird.
What do you mean? Like during the photo shoot, you knew how to put the backpack on, or you knew how to
just like random stuff that, you know, you're like, I like to consider myself like I'm a fairly bushy person. Like I've lived more days outside than inside. Like I'm pretty self-sustainable and I can do I like know what works and what doesn't. And I think some of that just like, I think they kind of saw that work ethic of like, this guy is just like willing to go the distance, willing to like do whatever it takes. And I think that made a big impact on them. And they're like, that kind of really fits with our company. And then I started working with them and that kind of started it. You know, and I think that they're like, I mean, and doing things with other companies where, you know, I've taken them out hunting and other things. And I'm like, well, it really just like showcases my skill as a hunter. I mean, I'm not the type of person like to brag on myself, but I will say that I've been out there a lot and I have a lot of experience. You know, I'm not afraid to get put into any situation and know that I'll come out okay. Whether it's like a hunt or an outdoor situation. I mean, I know what I'm doing and I'm not afraid to admit that because I've put in the time to say that.
But you also have to be a businessman on the other end to create these revenue streams to support your livelihood.
Yeah, definitely.
You have a family, you have a wife. I don't know when you're going to have kids, but I'm sure that's a thought. You can't just go out and say, well, I'm a bushy dude. I know my way around the mountains and then just hunt for free. Like there's got to be money coming in to pay the bills. So now on the other side of it, when you go to the office and you start talking about the writing, the podcasting, the billing, the invoicing, the you know, the balance sheets and the accounts receivable and the accounts payable, and like you got to run a business.
Oh yeah.
Like Remi Warren has become a brand, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, people were like, you know, when I was going to school, they're like, oh, what are you going to get your degree in, like wildlife or something like that? And I thought, no, man, I'll learn as much about the wildlife just being out there. I got a degree in marketing because my entire intention, like I said, I was very intentional about it. My entire intention was to market myself. You know, I tried, you know, I remember seeing like people marketing TV shows and other things. And I said, I want to market myself as a brand. This is before there was influencers, you know? And I was like, I'm going to figure out how to market myself where I'm not necessarily beholden to a TV show, beholden to a company, beholden to whatever. I want to market my name and myself as a brand and market it as what I care about and control that. And that's something that I was very intentional about and always have been and always will be. I think, you know, and looked at it like, okay, I'm going to market myself and market the things that I do as like somebody would a company.
So when you talk about, you know, the different parts, you've mentioned TV, is your main TV gig solo hunter today?
Yeah.
Is it your only one?
Right now, yeah, I think kind of TV's, I mean, I know you guys do a show, but in my opinion, TV's pretty dead. You know, I mean, mostly I don't really do much TV stuff, I would say. Some stuff online. I've done some other shows in the past. But like mostly what I do now is like creating content for social media myself, and then a lot of the companies that I work with.
And are you like working on, as part of your future plans, will there be online episodes, TV shows, not just a social media deal, but like long form video or short films of Remi Warren? Is this something that we're going to be able to find digitally in the future?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you're working on this right now?
Yeah.
You have like a new hunting show that you're going to release online?
Not necessarily. Not right at the second, no. But I mean, there is a lot of video content that I have that's going to be released pretty soon.
Are you allowed to talk about what you went down to Rockies on that turkey hunt for? Because I still don't have all the details. Are they out of the bag?
Oh, yeah, those are out. I'm a character in a video game.
Okay, and, this is cool.
Yeah, so and what I wanted to do, I found that the one thing, so the video game's called The Hunter Call of the Wild, and it's a fairly popular, you can play it on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, whatever. It's a fairly popular video game. And most of the, so it's like at the time I really wasn't super familiar with video games. I mean, I played video games as a kid, and I didn't realize how good they are now and how in depth they are. And so this is like an immersive world game where you go into this hunting reserve, and it's not like a shooting gallery or anything like that. It's like this immersive world kind of thing. And they had done a study and seen that millions of their players were not, the majority of their players had never been hunting or didn't really know anyone that hunted, but loved the game, addictively played the game and were very interested in hunting in real life, but they didn't really know anyone or had no knowledge of hunting outside of this video game. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is kind of bring a real hunter into that digital world and kind of give them just something to look at, because they like the video games, they watch a lot of YouTube videos. So they kind of create short little how-to videos, self-films based on hunting, and then kind of correlate those with the game in a way where we could release my character and some of the stuff in it, and then give those people kind of an avenue to look at hunting in real life. And the response on it was really good, really awesome.
So right now you can go on there and be Remi Warren?
Yeah, you can play as Remi Warren.
Anybody else?
No, I'm the only, as far as I know, I'm the only hunter that's a legit video game
UFC where
character.
You go in there and be John Jones or whatever and fight Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
So you can't go on there and be Michael Waddell or no. You got to be Remi Warren.
Got to be me. Yeah, you could be me or your own avatar.
Are you the face on the cover?
I don't, they're all sold digitally now, so no, there's no covers. Yeah.
Because GameStop's going under, I heard.
Are they?
I heard that.
I don't know. That's too bad.
I don't know anything that's going on in that world. So this is something that comes about how? How do they find you? Is it because of Industry Network?
No, I think it's more just just things that I've done, people in the company that really liked some of the stuff, what I was about and the way that I did things. And I also think because I have a pretty broad international presence, that I think that helped, because the video games played worldwide, and it's actually a company out of Sweden, or Sweden. And so I think that played a little bit into it. A lot of the stuff that I did in New Zealand and other things, being kind of like a DIY style hunter in lots of places around the world. I think it relates to a lot of different people, and some of those people really latched on to that and kind of helped with the process of getting this going, which is really cool. One of the guys that works at the company, Matt, was pretty instrumental in getting it going, which is pretty awesome.
Last time we met and talked, well, not the last time, but on one of our episodes, we talked about the relationship with Seiko, and you were going on 3 different hunts to do, I think one was Australia, one was Asia, one was somewhere else of maybe up north.
Argentina, but we never got to do that one because COVID. Yeah.
Are you still working with Seiko?
Yeah.
So are there plans in the future of doing more of those international trips?
Yeah, there are. I think right now I'm hoping to kind of, fill in with a lot of more domestic type hunts and some other stuff. But I think when travel gets back going, it'll definitely be some more cool destinations and some other stuff like that.
So then you have all that wrapped in. Now we've talked about the riding, we've talked about the TV, we've talked about the outfitting, then your relationship with Rinella and the Meat Eater crew. They come to you and ask you to do a podcast series to where you host it, and they're going to produce it and put it out under the Meat Eater brand. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so how's this going? This is called Closing the Distance?
Cutting the distance.
Cutting the distance,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's all right. I know every time you tag me in, it's closing the distance, but I like closing the distance too. So it's all good.
Cutting the distance makes more sense
Yeah.
because you're also cutting up the meat.
Exactly.
So you're cutting the distance between you and the meat, and then you're cutting up the meat, and then you're
A lot of
cutting
cutting.
it up again when you cut it with your fork, and then you cut it up with your teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
You're cutting it, man. So what's it all about?
It's mostly, so it's more how-to type content. Like the whole goal behind it is just teach people how to be more successful in the field, taking the thousands of days that I've spent and trying to turn that into tips and tactics. And I like to do it through like a 2-part thing. So the first part, I always try to tell like a hunting story, because I learned over the years that it's crazy how many people learn stuff from these, like just watching me. I never thought of it like that, but like watching solo hunters or watching my Instagram stories, they're like, man, I learned so much. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot to be learned from just like hearing a hunting story. And I think that, when I think about it, like growing up hunting, how many hunting stories did you have? And how many, like, that's where you got your tips and tactics, man, was a hunting story. Nobody told you how to do it. They just told you how they screwed up or how they did it right. Yeah. And so I like to kind of integrate that into it. So I tell like a hunting story, and I think that's entertaining as well. And then kind of break down tips and tactics, something I learned from that, or just something that relates to that. And then, and then do a little Q&As too every once a month.
So do you enjoy the podcast process of doing what we're doing right now, but you don't sit across the table from anybody, right? You're just solo.
Yeah, I just do it
everything
myself.
you do, you're a loner.
Yeah, man.
You just talk. I mean, I've done those in this studio where I sit here by myself and talk about, like, we have this one podcast series called Fowl Thoughts by Safari Club, presented by Safari Club.
Yeah.
And I sit here and I just talk about my fowl thoughts. You do this twice a week. Like, you like that? So essentially, you're talking to yourself because you're not getting anything from any audience until you see the remarks on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 reasons I do it that way. One is because I'm gone a lot, so it just works with my schedule. Like, I can't, have people and do this, and I think it's just more concise and to the point. Like, I don't. I'm like I just like everything to be efficient, streamlined. So it's like. So
do you sit down like you would with a pen and paper or pencil and paper and write an article? Is that how you format your thoughts for a podcast?
No, I've done that and it doesn't work very well. Like, they just don't come out very good. I just outline it and then just go from there.
Do you ever wing it?
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I just like write down like, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about. So I just give myself like an outline of like, I'm going to talk about these 5 things, and then I wing everything else.
So will this last weekend's hunt become a podcast of waterfowling and introducing youth to the sport? You just participated in the Nevada youth hunt again. We did it together last year. So tell me about the hunt, and then will it become a podcast? Will somebody learn anything from introducing new blood to the sport?
I definitely think it will. I always try to, because my podcast is actually, I try to make it where it appeals to those like hardcore hunters, but a lot of the listeners are like new hunters or guys getting into it. So I try to always touch on like getting into hunting and the basics and like some of the things you can learn from the basics, and then expand on that as well. But yeah, I definitely think there'll probably be some form of a podcast or whatever. It's like every hunting experience at some point will probably be a podcast. But we had a great weekend. I took my nephew, so it's my wife's sister's kid, and so my brother-in-law and their son out on his first duck hunt. And it was he's 10 years old, and it was his first successful hunt. I was thinking about it. It's like, okay, how did I started bird hunting. I started on upland game and then jump shooting ducks. And I thought maybe that will be the way to get him started because, not knowing, and then, I might have a little more control over just birds whizzing by. Like maybe we can sneak in. And that aspect of sneaking in feels pretty fun too. I didn't know like, is it his like how excited to be if we're just like sitting out in the marsh and nothing's flying or whatever. So I wanted to make it like, so I changed my plan from going to the marsh to jump shooting. And I should have just stuck with my plan, like.
Why, you couldn't get close to them, or there were none?
There weren't there. I think, well, nothing was really froze up. So all the marsh was open. I think that just got.
So did you just your plan was to get on the ditch out there in this certain area and walk the levees on the ditch?
No, I went out and hunted like a river system. And so there just wasn't, there was a few birds and we snuck in and got like 1 or 2 shots, but it was just difficult. There wasn't a lot of birds. There wasn't a lot of action. And I'm like, all right, we're going to go to that spot. I want to go in the marsh. And that wind picked up, and I'm like, sweet. So we get out there and there's like nobody, everybody had already either finished or did you guys see, did you hear a lot of shooting or anything?
Well, where we were, there was quite a bit, especially when the wind picked up.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. But also, the gun that I had for him was a little bit big and just never really being familiar with a gun and, whatever, just people that are new to it. It's got to be like, you got to have the right setup. So I decided, I was like, okay, that wind, I was like, okay, we're going to find one little spot where where there's just like a little less wind. And we're going to go and we're going to set up. So I found a little bay and my thought was, okay, we're going to lay down at the point of a little bay where there's no riffles. And we're going to put the decoys in a V right to that spot. And those ducks are going to land right here, right at our feet. So I got them all set up and sure enough, ducks come in just like clockwork, right? And he shot him at point blank. Got a hen redhead as his first duck, first time he ever shot a bird or anything, and he was so hooked. He was so stoked. That is way more exciting than going out and shooting something for yourself, isn't it? Like seeing somebody like these kids just like how, and I remember that, man. I remember somebody taking me out to the marsh the first time I got to go hunt over decoys and just like how cool that was. And, you get this amazing sunset and you're out there and it's just like, it feels so cool. And he was just so excited. And then we made some duck nuggets the next day and, yeah, he's hooked, man.
So are you filming all this?
That I wasn't.
You weren't. See, like that's one of those things where you're like, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
That whole deal about the jump shooting and then transitioning into a windy day and learning how to decoy, laying on your back and sitting up, and then the duck nuggets, the first duck. You were out there last year with us, and it was you were in the episode and you were doing the elk bugle and we were hunting bull cans, and my daughter, Lucy was out there and she killed a hen can for her first duck. Then my 9-year-old daughter Alyssa killed hers, and I started crying. Les is crying. You're fired up. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But if you remember, it was, she wasn't 100% sold on her abilities in handling that gun.
Yeah.
That 410. Well, this year I kept her on the 410. And you should have seen Remi night and day, like 1 year of, and she shot in between then, but now it's like stand up, shoulder it, boom, stand up, shoulder it, boom, not making good contact, not leading it the right way, but the confidence, I always try to take something out of the field.
Yeah.
Well, the duck calls around her neck and her sounding like a hen mallard and getting her air presentation right and being able to advance in her vocalizations and being able to call and communicate with wild game. That was huge to me. Then her ability to see the bird and judge the timing of standing up, shouldering the gun, and doing it all on her own. I never had to help her one time. Her aim's a little off, but it could be the patterning of the gun sometimes. And, and luck plays into some things once in a while. The wind was tough, so as soon as she'd stand up, those birds would catch that wind and be gone. There was a lot of facets in the hunt, but the one thing I took out of it is that she's just so confident with the gun.
That's cool.
It's just a great part of it. Now she's already like, I want to shoot her exact words were, I want to shoot a gun next year that shoots more than one time. And I was like, perfect.
Cool.
So now we'll get a little 20, like the new little SB3 Benelli 20 or the M2, and put 2 shells in it, one in the magazine, one in the chamber, and let her have 2 shots.
Yeah.
And teach her the safety aspects of that kind of gun, being more of the automatic variety than there is with the semi-automatic variety than there is with, pulling back the hammer and shooting a 410.
Yeah.
But to see her do that and the confidence, and then never get down, never hang her head, laughing and having a blast and saying, "Daddy, ducks, there's ducks. Oh no, that's a crow. Oh no, that's a hawk." And she was just in it. She was in it too. And we saw sprig in the decoys, widgeon, teal, mallards, cans, and redheads.
Oh, I saw so many like fully plumed cinnamon teal. Did you guys?
So many too.
What the heck? I was like, oh man, I want you to get one of those. Those are awesome.
Clay's son killed one with a hen can and a Drake cinnamon.
Wow.
And then my other buddy's son was out there, shot 43 times, almost 2 full boxes. He's a little bit older, but he had never been duck hunting. He's a chucker hunter.
Yeah.
So chucker are usually getting up and they're either flying straight away from you, maybe a crossing shot. But I'd say for the majority, the way that his chucker hunting's gone, it's probably getting up and maybe angling away from him a little bit or straight away. And he's killing chucker, but that wind was tough on him. He killed 3 ducks in 43 shots.
Wow.
A hen redhead or maybe a Drake redhead and 2 cinnamon drakes. Beautiful
Cool.
cinnamon.
Yeah, that's
plumage.
awesome.
I'd get my brother's going to mount the cinnamon for his son.
Right on.
He's pretty. Did you guys kill any cinnamons, or was the hen redhead it?
Hen redhead was it. We had one cinnamon came in like that, but unfortunately, because he'd been practicing, he got a single shot 410, but we didn't have any steel shot for it and couldn't find any ammo anywhere. So I had
COVID.
some. Yeah, it's crazy. So I used my over under 20 gauge. It's actually one that I use chucker hunting. It's actually like a woman's size stock because I like it for chucker hunting because I can throw it up super fast and it's super light. I mean, I can shoot the thing like one handed. Like I don't even have to put it on my shoulder if I don't want to just like messing around shooting skeet or whatever. It's like fairly small for me. It was actually my mom's, and I just ended up taking it and using it because it was like, hey, this works. And then my wife uses it a lot. So I had him shoot that, 2 shots in there, and but it's similar, like break action, like his 410 was. And but unfortunately, the stock was a little long, so when that cinnamon teal came in, it got caught under his shoulder, and he couldn't shoulder it right. And we're like, oh no! But it would have worked out.
Is it something to where he's hooked, you think?
Oh yeah, he's pumped,
fired up.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out a better shotgun. Maybe cut down the stock on.
Has he big game hunted before?
No,
this was his first hunt ever.
He went chucker hunting with his dad and my mom. His dad and my wife's dad on junior chucker day this year, but they didn't get any birds or didn't get any shots.
Did they see any?
I think they heard some or whatever. I don't know if they saw anything. I can't remember.
Did you have a dog on the duck hunt?
No, we didn't. I was the dog.
You were the dog?
Yeah.
So he killed the hen redhead in the decoys?
Yep.
Smoked her?
Yep.
No cripple?
Nope.
That's
just
awesome.
One and done.
How fired up was his dad?
Pretty excited.
Is he a hunter?
No, he's just getting into it.
He's just getting into it too?
Yeah.
Well, that's way cool.
Yeah, really cool.
We did a junior hunt in California this year, part of the CWA New Hunter program, and we had this 11-year-old down there, and he was new to hunting, but he had been hunting, wasn't his very first one. He was new to it this year, and his family had moved here from New York.
Oh, cool.
And we got to meet his dad, and he's never hunted in his life when he picked him up.
Really?
And his son's just like eating up, like
That's
calling,
cool.
like sending me videos of him goose calling, duck calling, gobbling turkeys in their backyard. I mean, this kid is addicted. He sees a squirrel and he'll take a video and send it to me of, I'm gonna get this squirrel. I need to get that squirrel recipe from the cookbook. Like he's fired up.
That's
like,
awesome.
That's what I love to see is like, I just there's some people that would have the mindset of like go, push. Even in athletics with kids, you see a lot of parents that are push. And with Alyssa and a lot of these kids, I'm just like, they'll figure it out. The lifestyle is so special and it's so fun that they might not catch on the first time. If they go again, they're going to catch on. And they might catch on the first time and they might take another year to want to go again, but then they're just going to keep building on it and building on it. Not everybody's going to jump in and be like, oh man, I got to do this every day of my life.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me to figure out because my type A personality, I was just engulfed with it, right? But I was also older when I started duck hunting. So I was more of the mindset of like, man, this is it. This is better than any chucker hunt I've ever been on or any deer hunt I've ever been on and all that. Where you're more balanced of you enjoy all hunting.
Oh yeah, everything. But I would say, a large portion of my life, especially growing up in Nevada, you big game hunt, but I mean, I was just obsessed with duck hunting. I duck hunted every day like I could, and that was a lot of days, because you just couldn't get tags all the time. between ducks and chucker, but I always erred on the side of ducks then, for sure.
Is it your favorite wing shooting?
I think so. I don't know. I do love chuck hunting, but there's just something about being in the marsh and the variety of birds, and you know what it's like. I mean, you just like, it's badass, especially when I love calling animals. That's like something I really enjoy doing, whether it's elk or it doesn't matter. Like, I'm always making crazy animal noises, and I think it like probably drives everyone around me crazy. I can't walk around without making an animal noise,
Yeah,
like I want to be the guy in the marsh that's blowing the call all the time because it's fun, like it's great.
It is fun to communicate with.
Yeah, it's rad. So, yeah, but it's fun. It's fun to see the kids get into it, and I'm excited too. I'm actually, my wife and I are having a baby girl.
Oh, you are?
This summer, yeah. So,
congrats.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm planning it out. All right, we're gonna go out. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited about it.
That's cool, and you did it the right timing to where she's not gonna be born in hunting season.
Yeah,
I see you planning that out too,
yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah.
God, you're just so intentional, Remi.
Yeah,
that should be the name of your new TV show.
Yeah, Intentional Remi.
Intentional Remi. You did have a TV show at one time called The Apex Predator.
Yep.
Do you still work with this brand at all? Do you still brand that at all?
No.
You don't?
No.
That you want to?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was fun. It was like really fun to do then, I would probably I would revive it, but I was kind of like hard on my body actually, just doing like crazy stuff.
Was it?
Yeah.
You were your own stuntman?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything about working and making your living in this industry that you don't like?
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I like. I'm like, ugh. But I mean, I'm not like I use social media a lot, but I'm not like a big fan of it, to be honest. I think there's like a lot of good things and a lot of bad things about it. But I just focus on the good things, so it doesn't really bother me that much.
But you made a comment in the beginning of this about how you were proven and you were doing things that you were legit, the real deal. When they went on that photo shoot with you, they saw you're the real deal. There's a lot of not that real deals that are self-proclaimed real deals. Everybody's famous now because of social media. Everybody's an ambassador. Everybody is a pro staffer. Everybody is a professional hunter because they have a certain amount of followers. And to me, that's always like, I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but to me, it's like, where is the cutting the teeth process now?
Yeah.
It's almost like you can just go out and say, oh, I'm getting this many impressions or this much engagement. You're going to pay me to be on my social media page. But it is hard to do it the way you did it. There was a lot of proving ground there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a different world, different time. Yeah, and I think that there is some of that, with social media or whatever. You can make yourself look however you want. And, I mean, clearly, like, I stick to, like, certain things. I don't, like, you can choose what you want to post and what you don't want to post. I try to post things that I would want to see, and that's, like, so I don't put a lot of like family stuff or like stuff at home that has nothing to do with hunting. But I also don't, it's like that's our life too. We pretty much, I mean, we're hunting 24/7, 365 pretty much. So that's the kind of like things that I share.
You have a TV show coming out on Netflix, don't you?
No.
Yeah, you do. I bet you do.
No.
Come on, Remi, be honest with me.
No, I don't.
Come on.
I don't. I honestly don't.
Where is it going to be?
Nowhere.
Nowhere?
No.
Do you have an invite to do the Rogan podcast anytime soon? Has he invited you since he moved to Texas?
Yeah, actually.
Are you going?
Yeah, I think I will at some point. I know we were kind of I was talking about going down there, but it was kind of in the middle of the move and everything. So I don't know, I'll probably hold off and go down sometime at some point, I would imagine.
Yeah, his podcast is pretty badass.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What are you going to talk to him about, you think?
I don't know. Whatever. Hunting, for sure.
What parts of hunting does he like to talk about? Does he mainly into the eating part of it, or does he like all of the strategy as well?
I think a little bit of everything. I think he loves elk hunting. He loves bow hunting. He loves eating the meat, and then he loves like just nature and the craziness of nature. So I think all those things are generally pretty popular topics.
Do you think that you bring up his elk, and he shows a lot of elk in what he does in his life? I love that part about him.
Yeah.
Eats a lot of elk with a lot of jalapenos. Is that your favorite meat? You've killed shit all over the world. Is axis deer better than elk? Is buffalo? Is there anything that matches a Rocky Mountain elk? To me, speckled belly is my favorite. So I know you're going to have your own. But to me, the speckled belly is the best wild meat. What is for you?
Yeah, I mean, elk's pretty much up there just because it's a large animal. You get like some big cuts out of it. Axis deer's pretty good too. Though.
Bear's not good.
bear's not my favorite.
Bear's not good, is it, Remy? I had this argument with Jim Shockey. He said he could dare me that he could make bear taste as good as any elk out there. I said, there's no way you can.
It's actually good slow cooked.
So like pulled pork.
Yeah,
like
pulled
you could
pork,
make coyote taste good that way. Though.
Yeah, but it's I mean, if you did pulled bear or pulled elk, the pulled bear would be better. You know?
Really?
Yeah, it's just because it's like got a little bit more fat in it. It's a little greasy.
What about moose? Do you think moose is too gamey?
Moose.
I don't like moose
I'm
either.
not a big moose fan.
Why?
Because it tastes like mud. Like they smell like you know that like marsh mud when you pull your boot out of that sinkhole. Moose like that's their rut smell, and I honestly think that moose kind of sort of tastes like that. But some people love moose. It's not my favorite.
Like Shockey told me he loves moose too, and I'm like, there's no way. It's not that good.
I'll tell you, like I've shot young moose, young bulls, and they're good.
Better.
Yeah.
Like veal.
Yeah. You're like,
what about bison? Are you a huge bison fan?
I like bison. It's just like you don't get to hunt them very often.
I like bison steak.
I've only shot
I'm not
one
a fan
bison.
I'm not a fan of bison burgers.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't taste good to me.
Yeah, I mean, with my burgers, I grind in fat with them, and I wonder if like bison burgers. I don't like bison fat. It's like yellow. It's kind of it's very similar to horse fat.
Yeah, very similar.
So I don't like that.
You eat horse?
I have, yeah.
Where in Europe?
Yeah,
I've eaten it in Europe several times.
It's
good
here too. But
it reminds me a lot. Have you really?
Yeah, I've eaten it in Asia too. I don't know. You can't it's a good. I've had like a horse ribeye before, and you're like, damn, this is good. It's lean. It's like it's a lot. It's actually a lot like bison, but I think it's kind of sweet. I don't know why. I don't know why it has like this sweet flavor.
Because they're eating apples all the time.
Is that it? Yeah.
Little girls are feeding them apples. Yeah. They the horse that I've had a lot of horse like cooked in like an Italian style with red sauce on it.
Yeah.
It's a lot like tongue at a Basque restaurant.
Yeah.
And I love tongue. I love lingua.
Oh yeah.
When it's done right.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm not a big fan of chucker. I'm not a big fan of pheasant. Well, if I cook it, now here I am being biased. Like if I cook it and I know what and I do it right, but a lot of people overcook that stuff and they dry it out so bad.
I've never I don't eat bad chucker, but I take that back. When I cook it, I've never had a bad chucker, but I've had those pheasants and those whatever that
casseroles
are just
and all that shit.
Oh God, that's so gross. It makes me want to throw up thinking about, that like pheasant dish that's got like rice and mushroom soup.
Cream of mushroom soup. And
so
everybody's
gross.
like, this is the old, and I'm like, dude,
it's so disgusting.
That's just butchering. You could you might as well just put a can of Spam or tuna fish in there.
So nasty.
You know what else was hard to eat growing up in this area? Was a sage hen, because when you cleaned them, you gagged because you're killing them in August and early September, and they always were putrid. They really were. Yeah. They were a bad smelling animal. Antelope were the same way. Antelope were tough because a lot of people didn't take care of the meat in the 95-degree weather. Yeah. So they'd sit out there and drink a cold beer and let it just sit there and in the sun when you really need to be in the cooler on ice and cooling off and chilling, right?
Yeah.
I had a problem growing up getting to like sage hen. Unless you like beat it and battered it and tenderized it, and then you breaded it, and then you fried it, and then you put it in red sauce or gravy, an Italian dish, over noodles. But just to eat a pheasant, a sage hen breast was never very good to me.
Yeah.
And again, if I take it and I cook it now and I do some different things to it, I can make it pretty good. But I was the same way with antelope too. I was never an antelope fan until I started, learning about the importance of, because when you're 12 years old and your dad's excited when you kill an antelope, you're really out there taking a bunch of pictures and you're not really rushing back to the truck. And we didn't have UTVs back then. Now you can get things picked up in a hurry. Elk are different because you're down in the canyon. But with antelope, as long as you stay ethical, you can get the meat on ice pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
But back in the day, you didn't have cell phones and you didn't have, you had to set up the picture and get the big camera out. And there was a lot of time that went in to all that. Then the celebration took place instead of procuring that meat. Yeah. Whereas a deer, it stays colder because you were killing a lot. Well, maybe not early archery though, right?
No,
you got to get that deer on ice, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily on ice, but just skinned out, air around it, air circulation. It cooled down, and that works pretty good.
So what will you eat tonight? Is it 100% wild game diet?
Yeah, I'll mix in like pork fat and bacon, just because like wild game's not super fatty, but yeah, it's pretty much 100%. Every once in a while, my wife might want to buy like chicken or something. If she wants something and we'll eat fish a lot. if we go out somewhere, like if I go out somewhere, I eat non-wild game. Like I'm not so like anti everything. It's just that I just don't buy meat. Like we have so much meat and we love wild game. Like that's just what we eat.
Are you ready to do this processing segment with me? Can we do it, please?
Yeah, sure.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, I've been just like throwing down to some processing stuff, man.
You have been?
Oh yeah, I butcher like so much stuff. I
got a ton here that I'm ready to thaw.
Yeah.
Snows, Canada's.
Yeah, dude. I just made like a big batch of duck chorizo.
Did you bring me some?
So I should have. No.
What the freak, dude?
I think we've cruised through it. We've been doing, like 2 nights a week. We do like duck chorizo street tacos, and we just like simple like cojita cheese and then like some cilantro, and that's it, man.
That's
it's just
so
like crispy. It's crispy.
So how long are you in town for?
I don't know, a while.
Can we do this next week maybe if I give you some dates?
Yeah, I think so.
Next week or the week after?
Yeah, I think so.
Because me and you also talked about maybe a late season spec hunt.
Yeah, we need to do that. I want to shoot a spec.
I got a guy that's literally driving there right now.
Really?
Yeah. To scout.
I'm down.
So just be on and you know who else might go with us is David Wise.
Oh, really? Sweet. Yeah, that'd be fun, man. I have to shoot a spec. That's like the bird that's on the top of my like shoot bird list, and I've never killed one.
Never?
And they're delicious. My dad, I got to go on an emperor goose hunt this year though.
Did you really?
Badass.
Way up north.
Yeah.
Because they just now became legal, right?
Yep. My dad drew a tag.
Did he kill one?
Yeah.
No way. Did you decoy him?
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You went up and set up a spread.
Yep.
How'd you hide, in a rock pile or what?
We built a blind out of driftwood.
And they come right in?
Yep.
Was it pretty easy?
You got to know where they're at. Well, easy. I mean, you're in the freaking Bering Sea in a small fishing boat for
so scary.
7 days. You know, but,
so you're scary.
Yeah. I mean, they aren't like the wariest, but I mean, imagine if you could only shoot one Canada goose a year, right? You'd be like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
You know, like
they're not getting that much pressure.
They aren't getting that pressure.
Well, that's cool, man. I want to do this processing segment.
Yeah.
I want you to write a book on how to become successful in the hunting industry.
Okay.
Because it's hard. You need to write a book on this. You need to write an ebook or an essay. You need to write something that gives us some hints. Because I get this question at least 30 times a week. How do you get a job? How do you work for this? What am I doing? You know, if I blow a duck call the best, am I going to get a job? And you never want to like tell somebody, no, that's not what it takes. It's a lot of what you explained the last hour and 10 minutes of tenacity and work ethic and, going after it. Like your story about learning the area in Montana better than anybody, that's a big deal. Like that's a big deal to go in there and say, I'm not even from this area, but I'm going to learn it like the back of my hand. And then that is what transitions into everything else. And it just keeps compounding and building into what is the Remi Warren brand now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that you have to be able to tell somebody it's not about, necessarily being the best hunter in the world. You have to have more than that, in my opinion. You really do. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's probably, I know some incredible hunters, but they also have no desire to do.
No desire.
You know what I mean?
Camera, follow them, or
nah.
And to do what you do, filming yourself, that's hard as hell.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I'm like, if you do something that nobody else can do, that's a good place to be. So I always tried to do things that other people weren't doing or was very difficult to do. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but it worked for me, I guess.
So do you have any regrets?
No.
You love working in this industry?
Oh yeah, love it.
Are you ready to go hunting like right now?
Yeah, I just got done hunting and I'm ready to go tomorrow.
You just got back from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Hunting the deer over there.
Deer and pigs, yeah.
Did you kill both?
Yeah.
Did you bring them all back?
I did, yeah.
On the plane?
Yep.
Stuffed a cooler?
Yeah, I bring a little vacuum sealer, one of those made with meat, the little travel size one. I didn't realize that I brought the wrong bags for it, so I had to get some extra bags. But
made with meat is awesome.
Yeah, so I just bring that over and then just butchered it all up, froze it, and then put it in those. I take those just like a soft-sided cooler, bring it back home.
Love it.
Yeah.
Have you eaten any of it yet?
Oh yeah, that's what we had for dinner the last 3 days.
The deer or the pig?
Deer. Yeah.
It's good, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to do, we had some, my buddy brought back some, I'll probably say the name wrong, Bodan. Boudin.
Louisiana?
Oh man, that's so good.
Rice stuffed sausage.
Damn, that's so good.
Dude, it's so
I'm gonna make I'm making like batches of that. With
so
that
good
pig.
with wild game and
So
crab
good,
and
yeah.
shrimp and rabbit.
Anything.
Rabbit. We did a wild rabbit feed down in California a couple weeks ago for the second to last week of the season. This Italian family from Napa Valley, the Particellis, they own Napa Valley Olive Oil Manufacturing, and they brought up they went out and killed a bunch of rabbits, and freaking it was unreal.
So good.
I love rabbit.
Yeah.
Could eat it. All right, that's Remi Warren. This Fowl Life podcast, Dickies Work Wear series. Today's episode again was brought to you by Dickies Work Wear, Gerber gear, and Leer tops. Thank you guys and girls so much for the downloads, the subscriptions. Thank you for listening to all of our podcasts here. Don't forget to check out new episodes of This Life Ain't For Everybody and Where the Pavement Ends, and brand new episodes of The Fowl Life coming this July 2nd exclusively on the Outdoor Channel. And we have a new TV show launching on the Outdoor Sportsman's Group app, My Outdoor TV or Mo TV. Please get a subscription. We will have more details on the new show we're launching on that this coming April, May 2021. I'm Chad Belding for Remi Warren. Thank you all very much for listening. Tom, take us out of here. This song is called My Fowl Life by the band 2AM Logic. Thank y'all.